Hello students, today I am going to discuss about topic is Java action tag. It is the topic of unit 5 of subject web technology. So myself is Dr. Shashank Sahu. I am going to discuss this topic. Now first of all, what is the JSP action tag? Basically it is used to combine more than one JSP instruction into one statement. So therefore we call as a action tag. The purpose of this JSP action tag is to include common task which is needed frequently. For example, common task like server side Java Bean, you can create Java Bean object with the help of JSP action tag and you can use it. And sometime we can also use JSP action tag to output the JSP programs and forwarding the request to the another JSP. Now we look for general syntax of the action tag. Here you can see for any JSP action, after the less than symbol, we are using a JSP right here, the JSP, then use the colon here. This is the syntax. Then after the colon, you will write any action name. We will give and discuss an example. And according to action, you can write the parameters which is needed for a particular action. This is the one way to define JSP action. It is an empty tag. There is no body of this tag. Second step is to have a body. So we have a starting of the tag as well as ending of the tag. So there are two ways to define JSP action. Similar to the HTML tag, we can have empty tag also, and we can have starting and closing tag that consist of the body. Now some of the examples of JSP action tag. For example, you want to pass the control to another JSP. So here we can use JSP action tag is forward to pass the control of one JSP page to another JSP. Here we are passing the control from current page to the page is account.jsp. What will happen when we are forwarding from one JSP page to another JSP? What will happen? It will terminate the execution of the current page and transfer control to the forwarded page. Now there is a one more JSP action is include. In this include, something change is there. We execute the specified page, then return control to the current page. So suppose there is a page 1 and page 2. We are included the page 2 in the page 1. So it will execute the page 2 and the control will be returned back to the P1. In case of forwarding, it will not happen. It will move to the account.jsp page, that is another page, and it will not return back to the current page. Third JSP action that is for an example for the JSP action is use bean. If you want to include the use bean in your pages and you want to create the object of the use bean, then you can use this JSP use bean. It has some parameters. One of the parameters is ID to create the object, and second parameter is to give the name of the class of the Java Bean. Now very important part, if you going for JSP web development, one of the concept is to use the JSP expression language. It is a very important. It will, or you can say, shortcut of some of the statements of the JSP statements. So, we will look for it. To write any JSP expression language, the syntax is we need to write the dollar symbol. Then we have opening curly bracket, then we have ending curly bracket and write the expression here. So, you can see any JSP expression start from dollar symbol and within the curly bracket we write the expression. Look for an example. It is a simple JSP program. In this we are using the HTML form and we are creating a text box with the help of tag input type equal to text. When we click on the submit button, it will call index.jsp. We are assuming the name of this file is index.jsp, so it will call itself. So, when it will call itself, we want to display the value of the text box whatever you type. So, we are displaying the value with the help of JSP expression. So, we have written a statement, the value of text box, value of a text box, and we have written dollar symbol, and to display the value of a text box we are using the param keyword. It is a predefined keyword. Then give the name of the text box. Name of the text box is already mentioned here. You can see how it is easy to display the value of a text box with the help of JSP expression. Just use the dollar symbol, then use the param keyword and then name of the text box. If you are not going to use this JSP expression, then what are the statements to display the value of text box in JSP? In that case, the number of statements will increase. First of all, we need to create a variable of type string, then use the request object and then use the get parameter method and pass the name of the text box. It will take the value of the text box and will store in a variable v name. Then you can display with the help of out object, which is the implicit object of the JSP, by calling println method and passing the name of the variable. So, this statement will display the value of text box in the browser. Now, you can compare. If you are not using JSP expression language, then you have to write these two statements. If you are using this JSP expression language, then it is very easy to write, or you can say to display value of a text box in browser. Just use the dollar, param keyword and name of the text box. Next, I am going to discuss some another JSP actions. One is related to SQL library for database connectivity. Second, we have a core library to do some task related to JSP, like using the for loop of this core library. Whenever you are going to use any JSP action, you need to include the respective library. To include a respective library, we are using the JSP directories tag lib. For example, suppose we are going to use the SQL JSP action tag, then in the URI you will give the name of the library. Basically, these are the TLD file. These are the external library that need to be included in your program if you are using the SQL JSP action tag. Now, we want to use this library with a name. So, you can give the name here. So, it is given with the help of prefix SQL. So, whenever you are using this library, it is mandatory to use this prefix name that you have given in this statement, that is SQL. Whenever you are using the core library, we have given the prefix C. So here you can see if you are using the SQL, then we are using this SQL library. It is basically used for database connectivity. When we are using the C, then we are using the core library of JSP. Some important control statements are available for processing of the data. Now I am going to start this small program for database connectivity with the help of JSP action. So you can see we have SQL, then we are using the set data source. Whenever you are going to connect a database, it is important driver must be loaded. So here in this example, we are going to connect with the MySQL data source. So we have mentioned the driver com.mysql JDBC driver. Second part for database connectivity is to connect to the database. You need to mention the name of the database in the URL attribute. So we are going to connect with the MySQL data source, and we are assuming it is the data source in our local host, that is in the same machine. So we have mentioned the local host, and then we have given the port number. Then write the name of the database. Register is the name of the database. When your program will connect to the database, it will ask for the username and password. So we have given the username is root and password is also the root. After execution of this JSP action tag, your program is connected to the MySQL database. Next part is to execute the query to fetch the data from the database. For that we are using SQL query, and we have given a variable name user. Meaning is that whatever the result of the query will be stored in this object. Now we have mentioned the name of the query select, then we have selected the field name of the table for which we are going to retrieve the data. Then we have given the name of the table, register table. Remember here in MySQL, as in my example, the database name is register and the table name is register table. So it will extract all the rows from the register table, and that will be stored in a variable user. So after execution of this query, next job is to display the records that we have retrieved from the database. For that we need a loop concept so that we can retrieve one by one record from this object and display to user. Now we have created a table. We want to display the data in a tabular format. Now here you can see we are using the core library, core Java JSP library. We have already used the prefix here. You can see here. Now we need a loop. So we are using one of the loop is for each. This loop will move from each row of the data that you have retrieved from the database. Now moving from each row, we have created a variable. Name of the variable is row. Now we know all the records we have already taken as a result of the query are stored in this object user. So we need to find out how many number of rows in this object that will be stored in a variable items. Again you can see we are using the JSP expression. So it is very easy to use the JSP expression. If you are not using it, it will increase your number of statements in your JSP program. So basically this example is showing the use of JSP action as well as use of JSP expression. Then you combine both the things, your program will be enriched and it will perform the outcome in a very fast way. Now we have taken all the number of rows in a variable items. Next part is to display the value of each field, that is of each record to audience. So for that we have created a row tr, then we have created a cell. Within the cell we are using JSP action C and name of the JSP action is out. Then we are using JSP expression dollar symbol, and we are using this variable row that we have already defined here, Then name of the field in the database, user ID, first name, last name, as well as username and email. All the data will be extracted from this object. We have already taken the data from the query we have executed earlier, and all one row will be displayed. The for loop will advance to the next level. It will take the second row. All the values of this field will be of the second row will also display. So this way this loop will move until all the records are displayed to the user. Next, we are moving towards some more JSP actions related to database connectivity. One is updating the records. Now you can see this program. It is a simple HTML form in which we have two text boxes with name, ID and name. When we click on the submit button, we have one more text box is branch. So we have three text boxes, ID, name and branch. When we click on the submit button, it will call insert.jsp file. So basically this is the insert.jsp file. What we are taking the value from the text boxes with the help of JSP expression, and we are using the param keyword. .id is the name of the text box. Name and branch is also the name of the text boxes. And we have created the variable here ID, name and branch, even though these name is same as the text box name, but these names are different. So we have taken all that value of text boxes in the variable of ID, name and branch, and we are using the set JSP action. Next part is whatever the value we have taken from the text boxes into the variable. Now we need to store these values into the database as a record. So we are using this update JSP action, and we are going to connect to the data source of that is a MySQL. We are connecting to the MySQL. So this is the data source for this connection to the MySQL. Now we are using the insert command, insert into, and name of the table is student, and we have given the value. Now this is the beauty of the JSP expression. You can see here, we are just giving the question mark here. Now we are using the param SQL JSP action, and we are using JSP expression. So all the value that we have retrieved from HTML form are taken from ID, name and branch will be back to this. ID value will be the first question mark, name will be to the second question mark, and branch will be the third question mark. So all the value that we have retrieved from the HTML form are stored in these variables, and from these variables it will be stored in the database. Now if you want to update a student record, so we can use name of the table student, then we can use set, because we are going to update a fields of one record. Then we are using name question mark, branch question mark, where ID equal to question mark, and then we are using this JSP expression as well as we are using JSP action. Name of the action is here SQL param. Now we are using name, branch and ID. All this value will be evaluated. Name will go here, branch will go here, and ID will be stored here. So this value will be populated automatically in these variables, and the SQL query is executed. Next is if you want to delete a record from the database, so we can have same SQL update JSP action, and you need to do only one thing, is write the delete command, and name of the table is student. Now here you want to delete on conditional deleting, whenever there is a ID value is match. So we are here, we have a ID here. So whatever the ID is mentioned by the user, that record will be deleted. Now, if you want to set a data source, so we are using this data source attribute, and GSP action name is set data source. So basically, making a data source is a different task, and it will take one of the concept is JNDI, that is Java naming and directory interface. Here in this example, I am assuming that data source is already created, because job of this video lecture is to discuss about the JSP action and JSP expression language. So if you have already created a data source, just to mention the data source name here, and you will connect it to the respective database. Now, one of the difference between query and update GSP action that I want to highlight is that for the query tag, or you can say whenever you are performing a query, it will return a result. Result will be written in case of any query. In case of update tag, basically it will update the database. Either it is a number of rows, it is a one row, it is a updation at the database level. But in case of query, we are retrieving the value from the database. We are taking value from the database. So whenever the query is executed, it will return a result. So I hope this lecture will be valuable for you, and look for my upcoming videos also related to the web technology, and I think it will be fruitful to you. Best of luck. Thank you very much.